We're making this summer funner with 3 incredible prizes to be won. First, a fantastic £15,000 in tax-free cash that you can spend on anything you like. Next, there's the latest iPhone 15 with a brand new set of Apple AirPods. And finally, £500 to spend at the UK attraction of your choice. The summer fun could be on us. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 28th of June. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
I've got a grade 3 astrocytoma brain tumour. Once I was diagnosed, I tried to do my claim with my insurance company and was rejected. They then also cancelled my life insurance and also cancelled my wife's policies as well.
And this is Zurich Insurance, John.
This is Zurich,
and their point was, because you'd had some dizzy spells, which you hadn't told them about, they say dizzy spells equates to brain tumour, which there's no evidence to support that.
I was with King's College Hospital. They ignored them. King's College Hospital were the experts.
So you were expecting £25,000?
Yeah, that was a critical illness claim.
Critical illness, because you've got a critical illness. Clearly, it couldn't be more critical, could it?
No.
Michelle, you've got a lovely, poorly husband, and you're also worrying about paying the bills and what the future holds.
Yeah.
What impact is this having on you on a day-to-day basis?
I try not to think too much about the future because it does upset me. I'm kind of thinking, when John does go, I'm left with a mortgage to pay and 2 young children.
How old are your kids?
5 and 3.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly tough.
And are you working?
I haven't worked since having the children.
Right.
And that's a decision we made when we had children.
In the grand scheme of things, this amount of money is a drop in the ocean for a company like Zurich.
Yeah, because I think they could make all this go away.
I've read some of the statement. Zurich said, "We're sorry to hear of the very difficult circumstances Mr. Rendler's family are experiencing." You're terminally ill, and they're calling that difficult circumstances.
The People's Channel.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello with Ben Leo, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Very good morning to you. Great to have your company this morning. And of course, as always, we have an action-packed show for you. All of the day's top stories with author and commentator Nikki Hodgson and TV personality Ben Ofwedu.
And we'll be finding out just how these puppies are going to make experiences such as Harry Potter World more accessible to those with impaired vision.
And we'll be meeting this week's greatest Briton, the man who's been helping people with their mental health for the past 3 decades. And I'm not sure if you know, but today is World Gin Day.
How could you not know that?
At the end of the day, end of the show rather, we're going to have a mixologist on the show, making us a couple of drinks. You were drink shaming me earlier, Ellie, because I said my favourite gin was gin and pink lemonade.
I said it was a very girly drink. Is it not?
It is, but then I said I normally like whiskies as well, so
yeah,
I'm kind of
he came in very quickly with that, didn't you?
And your favourite gin is?
Is a rhubarb gin.
Okay.
With an elderflower tonic, to be precise. So let's see if the mixologist can mix one of those up for us.
Yeah, and actually, I went out last night with my friends to a racing and a Craig David gig. Yeah. I didn't drink because I'm doing this show.
It's very good.
And I was saying that it's hilarious watching other people getting down that dark path of drinking on a night out when you're completely sober. So I didn't have a drink last night. I'm going to have a gin at the end of the show, so I'm looking forward to it.
A well-deserved treat, so do stay tuned for that. And don't forget, we also want to hear from you. This show is nothing without you. We'd love to hear what you think on any of the stories that we are talking about today. gbnews.com/yoursay.
But before we do anything else, Tamsin Roberts has your news headlines.
Ben and Ellie, thanks very much and good morning from the GB newsroom. It's just after 10 o'clock. Penny Mordaunt says the Prime Minister was right to apologise for missing a D-Day anniversary event, but warns the issue shouldn't become a political football. The Conservative leader of the House of Commons took part in a televised debate last night, which featured representatives from 7 parties. Miss Mordaunt clashed with Labour's deputy leader over issues including NHS waiting lists. Both were reprimanded for speaking over each other, whilst Angela Rayner received applause after claiming former Prime Minister Liz Truss had crashed the economy.
Keir Starmer confirmed this earlier this week. They are going to put up your taxes by £2,000.
That's a lie.
By £2,000 per working house.
Penny Mordaunt, you're using a figure that's been criticised by the UK statistics watchdog.
Costings and Labour's
Why don't you stand by your record? Record levels of taxes on working people. 26 separate tax hikes in the last Parliament.
Well, a snap poll by More in Common suggests viewers of last night's debate were more than twice as likely to see Penny Mordaunt as a better Prime Minister than Rishi Sunak. But broader polls suggest she's also at risk of losing her seat in July's election. It comes as the Prime Minister unveils plans to boost home ownership with a pledge to axe stamp duty for some first-time buyers. Shadow Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds told GB News that housing affordability should be a bigger priority.
What Labour has put forward in this election are things that would make a meaningful change to people's lives, whether that is building homes so people have a decent place to live, giving more security to renters so if you can't afford to buy your own home, you've got that security at the same time, giving people a chance on things like the economy, so we use the energy transition to get good jobs of the future out of that, real differences in tax and spend between, say, higher fees for private education to put that money into more teachers in the state.
Part of London's ultra-low emission zone could be scrapped if the Conservative Party wins next month's election. Senior Tories say they'd table a backing drivers bill, which would reverse the London Mayor's controversial ULEZ expansion and rule out any blanket 20-mile-an-hour zones. The party says the plan would protect drivers from what they call the draconian policies of local Labour politicians. Latest figures show that 95% of vehicles in the capital are compliant with clean air standards, up from 39% in 2017. Well, those are the top stories, and for all the latest, do sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen, or simply go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now, though, it's back to Ellie and Ben.
Thank you, Tamsin, and welcome to Saturday Morning Live. It is 4 minutes past 10, and of course, our top story is the 7-way election debate on the BBC last night. But don't worry, because in case you missed it, we're going to give you a brief roundup of what was said. Well, the Prime Ministerial stand-in, Penny Mordaunt, joined in the criticism of Rishi Sunak for leaving the D-Day commemorations in Normandy early.
What happened was completely wrong, and the Prime Minister has rightly apologised for that, apologised to veterans, but also to all of us, because he was representing all of us.
Would you have left D-Day early?
I didn't go to D-Day. I think what happened was very wrong. I think the Prime Minister has apologised for that. But what I also think is important is we honour their legacy.
Meanwhile, Labour's Deputy Leader Angela Rayner accused the Conservatives of 14 years of abstract, or did she mean abject, failure.
We've heard from the Tories for 14 years that they were going to do something about skills and manufacturing in this country. I asked the people to look at their record, and they constantly spout these lies that we're going to stop people's cars, that we're going to do this, going to do that, when really the reason they say that is their 14 years abstract failure.
And are your green policies going to be
You have failed the British people.
But amid the bickering and the talking over each other, Plaid Cymru's Rhiannon Purists found the time to highlight the lack of excitement surrounding Labour.
I believe that the real frustration in this election is the lack of change on offer from the Labour Party. Whether you liked him or not, there was a feeling. I was still working as a journalist back in the 90s when Tony Blair came in. At least there was a feeling of something different happening.
And of course, never one to go amiss, Reform UK party leader Nigel Farage spelt out his frustrations with today's political leaders.
I think this has been one of the worst general election campaigns so far between the two main parties I've ever seen in my lifetime. It isn't just that their leaders are dull, well, very dull in the case of Labour. I mean, sort of Blair without the flair. I mean, the real leader of the Labour Party is here tonight on the stage. At least she's got some personality.
Well, there's lots to get through. We're joined now by author and commentator Nikki Hodgson and TV personality Ben Offerwedu. Really good to see you both this morning. Nikki, we'll start with you. What did you make of last night's debate?
Gosh, I don't even think this seven-way debate formula works, you know. There's just too much going on. It's like being in a weird pub with a group of friends that can't agree and everybody's trying to chip in at the wrong point. I think it's actually really confusing to watch. But that said, I mean, it's kind of extraordinary, isn't it, that Penny Mordaunt took the gloves off and then had to direct the punches at her own leader rather than at somebody else, you know?
That was an interesting choice by her, wasn't it? Because she could have just laid out the Conservatives' record on veterans.
She could.
But she decided not to. She decided to stick the knife
and she's got a reputation for doing that, actually. You know, several times in her career, she has kind of gone for Rishi Sunak already. And we know that's because she's got her own ambitions to be leader of the Tory party.
But surely, Ben, she did that because what Rishi Sunak did was indefensible, right?
You can't defend what Rishi Sunak did. I mean, I can't, but I mean, he was just following protocol. I'm sure he was advised to leave at that time. He's just following the schedule and not really thinking about it. And I think that it's sad that he didn't have his own mind to think, well, I can't leave this. Why would I do that? You know?
It's a wonder that nobody in his team even realised. I was thinking about it yesterday. Even as he was flying out of Normandy, you would think that someone in his team would think, oh, but wait, every other world leader is staying, so perhaps this isn't the best.
What is that about, right? Because it does happen in teams sometimes. You get this kind of group thing where somebody says it's fine and everybody says it's fine too, and it's a really negative dynamic.
It's not a one-off. We saw it with the Leeds when he announced the general election, allowing him to go out there and get soaked in the rain. Then he went to the Titanic quarter, which people said that had, you know, symbolism of the sinking ship Conservative Party. So it's not just this one-off.
I was canvassing for a party, I won't say which one, yesterday, and sometimes you could be in a team that you didn't even know, and the team I was canvassing for, some of them didn't even know that the debate was on, because you're so into the campaign and into what you're doing, you know, it's like you can't see outwardly. So that can be a thing as well. You can just be so stuck in. It's like being in a pop band and you don't really know how big you are because you're spending all the time together. Do you know what I mean? You're in your own world. But it was a terrible. And he was doing so well, because I think he battered Keir Starmer in the first debate. I mean, that's my personal opinion. And he was doing really well, and then that D-Day thing was just...
What do you make of Nigel Farage's comments about, first of all, Sir Keir Starmer saying he had no character, he was Blair without the flair, but then latterly saying that Angela Rayner, you know, suggesting that she would be a better leader than him because she's got personality?
I think a lot of people support that, you know. I think a lot of the reason people who want to vote for Labour this time will do so is not for Starmer, it is for people like Rayner, some of the more interesting personality-led characters in the Labour Party. I do like Blair without flair. I mean, look, Farage is a consummate showman and he knows exactly what his strength is. His strength is those kinds of things. I mean, the other week I referred to Keir Starmer as an office hole puncher that gets passed around, because he does feel like that. He's got that lack of personality. This was also a piece kind of extolling the virtues of Richard Tice, which I think has had something to do with him then leaving and Farage becoming leader.
Well, this is really interesting. It leads us very nicely onto the Independent front page. Thank you, Nikki. It's a poll in the Independent that suggested that Reform UK's Nigel Farage is the most popular option to succeed the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. The poll offered 6 other names. Penny Mordaunt was on 15%, James Cleverly on 6%, Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman, Priti Patel and Robert Jenrick also on there. But Tory voters want Farage to succeed as a leader. What do you make of that, Ben?
I think that our new leaders have to be showmen. I think we've just moved into that time of social media, and it's like that pop star time where everyone's just got to be famous and have some nice lines and stuff like that. And I think that, you know, some of the even with London Mayor, he's from that school of, you know, Boris Johnson. Angela Rayner kind of fits into that school. It's like they all went to the same school. Do you know what I mean?
Just briefly, what did you make of Rayner's mistake where she said abstract failure instead of abject? I don't want to dig her for that, because it's the kind of thing I'd say on air, and I've probably made many similar mistakes before. But I mean, is that a sign of anything, or just an innocent mistake?
I don't know. You can't really tell them with her. I mean, that's probably just an innocent mistake.
Yeah, she did get a bit of stick from trolls on Twitter.
I mean, it does happen. We've all been there where you go to say one word and another word comes out. It's just broadcasting to some extent. But it was, you know, ill-timed and bad luck on her part. But there are far worse words she could have said instead. It wasn't kind of 1,000% removed from what she actually meant. So,
who do you think came out the best last night? Who was the most confident orator from what you could see?
That's a really interesting question. It depends what you're rating them on. You know, Farage is always going to just be so relaxed. He's so relaxed
and at the end,
and knows how to do that.
I'm the only leader here who didn't use an autocue.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Well, he's obviously had a lot of practice, hasn't he? Broadcasting elsewhere, Will.
He never used to do, infamously, his show here with autocue, and he was very proud of that.
Yeah.
You know, most other presenters use an autocue for intros and then just, you know, add a little converse off their own bag. But Nigel, even with his introductions on his show, never used an autocue, and he was always very proud of that. He's such a good communicator on that.
Yeah, he's very good. I mean, that's his strength. Communication, you know, leadership is his strength. He's just one of those people, like he has that going on, you know.
Let's have a look, shall we, at this horrific story on the front page of the Daily Mail. It is, of course, the TB doctor, Michael Mosley, who is missing on the island of Symi in Greece. I mean, I just can't stop thinking about his family and how they must be feeling right now.
It's so, so sad. And he's so well loved. Everyone really loves him. And it's... I mean, I heard sort of earlier on that because he disappeared, he was wearing a hat and an umbrella and stuff like that. But I think, you know, and whether that was a sign that he was kind of depressed or something like that, I don't think it was just, it was hot and he was in Greece and he was just kind of, you know, wearing the hat.
Just getting shade.
Yeah, just getting shade. That's what I kind of think. But I mean, these kind of things, they do happen every now and then, and it's just like a total mystery of what happened.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it seems there are so many different theories, and obviously we don't want to speculate too much, but, you know, we're not talking about somebody, a kind of naive person. We're talking about a very worldly person that was obviously very fit, very well, would have had, you know, would have a lot of inner resources to draw on if he felt something was going wrong. So you do just wonder if he's not had an accident, and that's the issue.
So the update this morning or overnight was that he apparently took another path, not the one that search and rescue teams were initially looking at. He apparently was caught on CCTV in a remote village, taking a more sort of rugged, adventurous path. So that's where the search now focuses on today.
Yeah, I mean, we just have to hope, don't we? You just have to keep hope at this point. Keep everything crossed.
Well, of course, we'll keep you updated on that developing story on GB News throughout the day. And, of course, as we get any news on Michael Mosley, of course, we hope that he is found safe and well. Should we take a look at the Daily Mail? And this is the Duke of Westminster who got married. It was a society wedding of the year, wasn't it? It was disrupted by Just Stop Oil protesters. What do you
Absolutely
make of it,
disgusting. I think that when they catch the people, they should pick their special day, whether it's the birth of their children or whether they're getting married, and come and chuck red paint all over their day. I just think that there are no rules to this sort of thing. People just trying to, you know, garner attention, and they do things like ruin a wedding should be sacred. I know it sounds like really weird, but there should be some sort of rules to things like that.
No, it doesn't sound weird at all, Ben, because I think about if somebody, I mean, I'm not interesting to anyone, but if somebody had done that on my wedding day, I mean, like the stress that you already experience on that day to make it go right for people, I completely agree with you, that is crossing the line for me. And actually, I do have sympathy with environmental protesters, generally speaking, but not when they target people's personal celebrations.
Nikki,
this is over the line
They
for
would
me.
argue, if they were here, that this guy's worth 10 billion quid.
Sure.
They need to make a statement about their claim that there's a climate emergency. They need to do their part to save the future of humanity.
Of
so
course.
a bit of smoke at a wedding procession, isn't that a bigger deal?
No, but I just think it's completely barbaric to somebody. You know, for me, this is, you know, if you take issue with him, go to his workplace and complain. Camp outside somewhere where he's doing business, because that's the issue. You know, his wedding day has got nothing to do with his wealth or his attitudes to the environment. So I just think it's too far.
There are ways that you can protest that doesn't need to, you know, disrupt people's lives and upset people's weddings. There are ways. I mean, everyone sort of goes for the jugular. But I don't think you need to do that. And what it does is that it turns the public kind of against...
That's always been my point as well. You're trying to win people onto your side of the argument, get them on board, you know, make a good point, but all you're doing is just, like, miffing people off. And also, I've always said that they put people off genuine or other environmental issues, like plastic in the oceans, our waterways, so on and so on, because they see Just Stop Oil or groups like Extinction Rebellion and they just turn their heads completely against all other environmental
Completely. It's just too extreme for the majority of people that do want to help the planet and do want to, like, cut back on, you know, excessive energy use and all the rest of it. So
and many people making the point as well that this couple that got married were a strange target because they are both hugely passionate about sustainability. I mean, their florist was using reusable flowers and pressed artwork in order to be sustainable. I think he works in biodiversity and making bioproducts and reusing coffee beans, all that sort of thing. So it's a strange target in that sense. People who actually are trying to be sustainable, to target them on that.
It's just for headlines.
Their life.
Yeah, that's the thing. They just want attention, and they thought it would make programmes like this and would be talking about it, and they think that brings attention, but it's...
And I suppose in that sense they've got what they wanted.
But for all the wrong reasons, so, you know...
We've caved into them. It was. Did you see much of the wedding yesterday? Any of the footage? It was the society wedding of the year, apparently, according to Cameron Walker.
Just saw the pictures, yeah.
And
I was a bit upset
very glamorous.
I wasn't invited, really.
Well, although Joe Public weren't invited, they did. The bride and groom, the Duke and Duchess now of Westminster, they did pay for free ice cream for all of Chester. So there were 3 sites across Chester, one serving up single scoop lemon cheesecake ice cream and a nod to their wedding cake, which was quite nice.
Wow,
that's a sweet touch.
I mean, he is worth 10 billion quid, so probably not that much.
Yeah, and
nice small change.
They did say ahead of their wedding that they didn't want any gifts because they quite literally have everything that money can.
Right, which is very, completely right on. I mean, that's
probably the right thing to say, isn't it? Well, do get in touch with any of your views on the stories that we're talking about today. gbnews.com/yoursay. Really love to hear from you. Really interested to get your thoughts on this story. We were talking about this, weren't we, just before the show started. Let Be, the TV show. So this is the Line of Duty creator developing a drama based on the child serial killer Lucy Letby. How do we feel about this?
I mean, I was thinking, because I do a bit of acting myself, and I'm thinking, could I play a part? I mean, I can't play Lucy, but
you could play a doctor.
I could play a doctor, but, you know, would I play a real-life killer? I know, you know, it's I don't know.
It's killer of babies, isn't it?
I just
For me, it's too soon. That's the issue with it. It's not that you shouldn't be able to dramatise these things, but I think you need one for certain things to move out of the public consciousness. To some extent, it's never going to leave because it was such a massive story and just such a horrific one. But, you know, this person has barely been in jail for, a handful of months at this point, and we still don't know, we still haven't got to the bottom, really, of what happened.
I think ITV back in the day did a Harold Shipman one.
Yes, and that had a lot
I remember being very popular at the time. It was, what year was it?
2002.
2002, so that was back in the day. I was probably about 14.
But you still remember it.
But maybe it is too soon. And isn't she also appealing certain aspects?
Yes, it's starting on Monday.
So that's why I think it's a bit strange. Like, I don't know, that seems to be a bit of a conflict.
Well, apparently Game of Thrones star Sophie Turner and Killing Eve leading lady Jodie Comer are a handful of top actresses in the frame. I mean, that would be, from an actor's perspective, an extremely challenging role, wouldn't it, to take on?
Yeah, I suppose, you know, as an actor, thank God that there are people who would take on that kind of challenge, and she'd probably be perfect to do it. I mean, there are sort of people who are really kind of into their craft and stuff. I just don't know whether I could do it from the heart, you know. As an actor, there's certain roles that I just think
But I suppose that's what makes great actors, I guess, you know. You are adopting the personality and the soul of a different person or a character and, you know...
Yeah, able to tap into feelings that you think you would never be able to have, right? So that's
well, there are all sorts of actors. There are method actors and there are people that just act. Brad Pitt once said, just get here how you get here. However you get here, just do it. So he didn't, you know, because some actors will say, oh, you know, I hang upside down from a tree and I meditate for 15 hours. And some people just go, I just acted, you know. So there are different sorts of actors, so, you know.
Well, let us know what you think on that, gbnews.com/yoursay. And let's wrap up, shall we, with hay fever hell.
Oh.
Apparently it's going to be really bad this year. I've definitely felt it. I've really struggled with my...
I'm definitely struggling already. I can hear myself now.
Have you had it previously, Nikki?
No, I haven't. It's something I've developed later in life.
Yeah.
Never had it as a child. And maybe that's to do with the strength of it now that, you know, we were always borderline and we were never kind of like provoked by, I don't know, certain pollens. But yeah, so many people I know suffer from it now as well.
Yeah, I had it for 4 years. It's gone now. Actually.
Really?
Just disappeared?
Yeah, it just... I mean, I didn't have it all my childhood. I think I got it when I was about 45 or something like that.
I've just been sneezing non-stop for about the past 3 or 4 days. I didn't attribute it to hay fever, but then my eyes started itching. I've never had it before, so it must be.
Yeah, well, apparently it's really high pollen levels. It's orange and red alerts for the next few weeks. So 15 million Britons are going to be affected. according to science.
Facing weeks of tear streaming hay fever, apparently, so that's why, yeah.
I don't know what the best thing to take is when you're suffering with it.
There are so many different approaches now, aren't there? So.
When I was out in Ireland, I used to have a place in Cork, and when I was out there, the local honey is always really good for it. If you're, just the honey, just a spoonful of honey.
My mum says that, and
Lots
she
of
says
people
also
do that,
getting chamomile tea. Actually, she says that for everything. Just any ailment, get a chamomile tea bag, and apparently she says put them over your eyelids.
Yeah, very soothing.
I think those natural remedies kind of do work, though.
Yeah.
The honey thing does really work.
The honey thing does
more
work.
than any antihistamine, though.
But the idea is that you've got to source the honey from the area in which the pollen is.
There you go.
So.
Well, very
Cork, that's the answer.
Central London honey is a little bit difficult for us to get right now.
Very good Manuka honey, but highly rated. It's meant to be quite medicinal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's rather
Depends which
expensive,
honey.
but yeah.
Maybe not your sort of brand-owned squeezy honey for 99 quid.
Antihistamine just doesn't seem to be touching the sides.
Do you get hay fever?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't suffer as a child. I've suffered probably in the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And I actually am really struggling this year to get a hold of it. So I might just look at the injection. You can get
the only thing, but the body becomes immune to stuff like that. That's the thing.
That's
if you've been taking it for so long, you know. But honey, Manuka honey. The guy's worth 50 billion, he could buy it or whatever.
Ellie, we need to get a beekeeper in.
We do.
For the end of
Get your own hive going, exactly.
Something, that's for sure. Nikki Hodgson and Ben Aquedo, really good to see you this morning. You're with us in the next hour. Thank you very much indeed.
OK, we're going to be joined later on by our panel. They're going to return. But coming up, Hogwarts might be turning into dogwarts to help those who are visually impaired. But up next, it's time for our election quickfire. Which moments have caught your eye this week from the campaign trail? Can you think of any?
Oh, you put them on the spot.
There's plenty to come. We've got clips.
There's plenty to come.
Yeah.
We'll find out in the break.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
you made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And why it matters to you. From your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you. Good afternoon, Britain. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The Princess of Wales has reportedly been out and about, enjoying days out with her family, while she continues to undergo her treatment for cancer.
And Buckingham Palace says they have been inundated with tens of thousands of get well soon cards and gifts for the princess.
Yes, I can imagine so. Now we're joined by former royal correspondent at The Sun, Charles Ray. Charles, how do they know she's been out and about with her family?
Good afternoon, Tom and Emily. It's interesting, yes. I mean, how do they know that she's been out and about? No pictures have been seen of the princess out and about. And I'm surprised that with all the people who've got camera phones, that if she has been that out and about, that we haven't seen her. But anyway, we have to accept that that she is out and about. She's with her family. But the palace are making it quite clear, pointing out that this should not be confused with her returning to work anytime soon. There are even some suggestions that she won't return to work probably until the autumn, and there's one suggestion that may not even be till next year. Like her father-in-law, she's not sitting at home with her feet up watching daytime TV. She is actually working. She's actually doing things.
And yet, this is a difficult time, of course, for the royal family to navigate everything. The King has cancer, the Princess of Wales has cancer, and we're in the middle of a general election campaign where the royal family have to be very, very careful about where they go, what they do and what they say.
Sure. And as you quite rightly say, Tom, I mean, things have had to be cancelled in any case. So during this next 6 weeks, we are not going to be seeing any members of the royal family doing as much as they possibly can or can do prior to a general election.
The People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. This is GB News, Britain's election channel.
10:26, Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Let's see what you've been saying on gbnews.com/yoursay. Ellie, I'll start with these couple. Max says, well done, Ellie, on your D-Day coverage. Professional, compassionate and deeply moving. And Robert, he says, credit where credit's due. Ellie's coverage of the 80th anniversary was exceptional. Oh. The way she moved smoothly between different elements of the celebration was a masterpiece of professional commentary. Well done, Ellie. How was your week? You've had a bit of a graft, haven't you?
No, it's been absolutely incredible. Honestly, I've just had some lovely comments from the producers outside about our coverage this week. Honestly, I was honoured to be there, and it was such a privilege to meet those veterans. I met 2 this week, and they are just the most incredible men. And it was so right that all of the commemorative events that were taking place this week was centred on them. And it was just so moving to be there on Gold Beach, which was a British beach that was stormed by 25,000 British troops, and just to think about what happened there 80 years ago and what those men stormed into. It's just the bravery and courage you can't even comprehend.
Was it quite emotional for you?
Yeah, hugely emotional. I think I'm only just really soaking up what happened. As you said, it was a very intense 5 days. I'm only just really soaking up what happened there and what we saw and who we met.
And I was there was lots of stories I didn't know about D-Day, lots of anecdotes. For example, I mean, maybe I should have, I'm proving my ignorance here, but Pegasus Bridge, which you covered quite brilliantly.
Thank you. One of my favourite stories of D-Day, because I did want to reflect kind of the 2 stories. Obviously, we're talking about the loss of life, the horrific loss of life on that day, on D-Day, and the days that followed in the Battle of Normandy. But then there's also the other side, which is liberation and freedom in Europe, and eventually the victory in the Second World War. So I did want to reflect both sides, and I learned so much. Being away and meeting all those people. I did want to say as well, thank you so much for all of the comments that I've had on my Twitter and my Instagram. I've never had so many lovely, just really emotional, beautiful comments. So thank you so much. I was really moved by it, and thank you for that.
You did a great job. Sophie did a great job. All the producers, camera people. You know, not to pat ourselves on the back too much, but just from the volume of emails in the inbox, you know, showing your appreciation for the coverage. It was a good moment for the channel.
Yeah, and it was a good team effort down there as well. Everyone was working really hard, so thank you.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Now, every week between now and the election on the 4th of July, we are going to look through the top political viral moments of the week. And just to say, I've decided what it is because you asked me before.
Sorry, I put you on the spot.
It was Nigel Farage and, of course, being attacked by a milkshake this week, and I think he handled that really, really well with that viral moment. But we're going to be going through the viral moments of the week with the chief political commentator at The Times, Aubrey Allegretti. Good to see you this morning, Aubrey. And this comes in at number 1, actually. So should we look at this clip? This is Nigel Farage and the milkshake attack in Clacton this week. Oh, it's only a picture, actually. Let's get that picture up. Here we are. So that is Nigel Farage being attacked with that milkshake in Clacton. What did you make of it, Aubrey?
So Nigel did, I mean, he took it in good spirits. He made a video. Have we got that video? He made a video responding to it. I think this is it. Take a look.
My milkshake brings all the people to the rally.
So there we go. So a 25-year-old woman has been arrested and charged for that incident, so we can't talk about that too much. But in the wider conversation, Aubrey, about the safety of MPs or, you know, politicians, does this say something about, you know, maybe during election times the leaders of parties need a bit more protection, do you think?
They're certainly really vulnerable at this election, probably more than previous ones. And it's not just party leaders as well. Unfortunately, if you really look into it, lots of candidates standing across the country are being afforded extra security and protection and advice about how to protect themselves because of the growing risk from people trying to cause them harm. Now, obviously, Nigel Farage is used to being a sort of Marmite politician. And so I suspect that he managed to own the situation quite well. He sort of came out of it and made a joke of it. It obviously also does give him some attention as well. So at the start of the week, when he was announcing his candidacy to stand in Clacton and running as leader for Reform, it sort of probably had the opposite effect of maybe what some people might have intended to do to him, and instead kind of elevated his profile.
Should we look at this next viral moment this week? It's Ed Davey playing Jenga in the Blue Wall in Greater Manchester this week. We've got a picture of this.
But I don't want to put ceiling on our ambition, so let the whole lot go.
What do you make of this then, Aubrey?
Not quite as fun as some of his previous other stunts, but Ed Davey actually told me about a year ago that the Liberal Democrats, the main thing that they wanted to do when they were out canvassing at an election campaign was to have fun, because I think they know they're a third place party. At this election, they're going to be quite squeezed to some extent because so much of the focus is always on the main two parties. We had the head-to-head debate between Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak, which is all about a presentation of the next Prime Minister. But Ed Davey is going about this campaign trying to draw attention to himself, have a bit of fun, and also raise some important issues. You just played some pictures of him there in a care home. Ed Davey's been talking this week about his story as a carer to two people, and it's actually really effective. It means that people get to know him as a person. They don't see him as a slightly more serious, stuffy politician.
Yeah, he got lots of stick at the start for the water slide stunt and the bike ride, people calling him juvenile, but me included, I've warmed to him. I think it's nice to have a bit of fun and personality in what some people are calling a very dull election period. Shall we move on to Keir Starmer? So he said, he made these comments at the leaders' debate about the NHS and using private healthcare.
Absolutely no if your loved one was on a waiting list for surgery.
No.
Thank you very much.
I don't use private health. Okay. I use the NHS. That's where my wife works, in one of the big hospitals. As I say, it runs through my DNA.
OK.
Thoughts, Aubrey?
Well, I mean, I probably feel like he thought he had to give that answer, but it's not sort of technically Labour's position because, of course, Labour is allowing people to use private healthcare providers where the state can't help them quickly enough. That is the position of the Shadow Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. Now, Keir Starmer's obviously got a background, a story to tell about his wife working in the NHS and his mum being a nurse, so he really wants to hark back to that sort of personal story and show his commitment to the NHS. But is it terribly practical? In this election, people aren't looking for sort of ideologues. They want people who are going to put forward real plans to save the NHS because they look at the situation that it's in and wonder whether it's terribly sort of sustainable on its current footing. So I suspect Keir Starmer could have handled that by talking a little bit more about his plans to improve it by offering, for example, 40,000 more GP appointments a week, he says, by closing things like the non-dom loophole. I suspect that would have been a sort of better way to answer that question.
Yeah, and critics are saying that, if you're a multi-millionaire like Sir Keir Starmer, you should free up space in the NHS and go private. There's no shame in that. But reacting to the leaders' debate, that debate where Starmer featured, was the Conservative Party headquarters, who put together a Gogglebox-style TV show getting former MPs and ministers to react to what was going on. Take a look at this.
We're live in Salford for the very first time in this election. It's Sunak versus Starmer, the ITV debate.
He looks better. His shirt's been ironed.
Yeah, that's a good start, isn't it?
Well, it looks like, really sort of crisp.
Yeah. Like his answers, I expect.
Why are you talking about Liz Truss? Talk about yourself.
Truss. We're talking about the general election.
So that was Mel Stride and Gillian Keegan there. Does that work?
I sort of respect CCHQ for trying to have some fun in this election campaign because the mood inside the building has been pretty dour and sort of funereal otherwise. I did wonder when I was watching it whether perhaps these two cabinet ministers were auditioning for a future potential podcast they might launch if they don't manage to hold on to their seats at the general election.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it. And Aubrey, whilst we've got you, what are your thoughts on the debate that we saw last night? Who came out as the clear winner for you?
Well, I mean, the clear loser was probably Rishi Sunak, the man who wasn't really in the room, because he was criticised on all sides at the top of the debate by people, including one of his own cabinet ministers, Penny Mordaunt. And the winner probably, in a format like that, it's sort of Nigel Farage's for the taking, because he is somebody who is there to sort of say a plague on all of your houses. And you had the Conservatives who are obviously in government in England, Labour in government in Wales, and the SNP in government in Scotland. So a sort of anti-politics, kind of anti-establishment person like Nigel Farage is always going to thrive in that environment.
OK, thank you, Aubrey, for your thoughts on that one. Do let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay.
I'll tell you who won some plaudits was Penny Mordaunt's hairstylist. Camilla Tominey tweeting,
huge.
Someone give me the phone number of Penny Mordaunt's hair and makeup lady.
And she actually got it, didn't she?
Did she get it?
Yeah, she said she had it. I think it was Lisa. who's the parliamentary hairdresser, apparently.
A parliamentary hairdresser?
Apparently they have a hairdresser.
Exist,
and she worked on Penny Mordaunt's hair yesterday. That's what I saw from Camilla's Twitter anyway. So she got to the bottom of that mystery, but it was very big, wasn't it? It was channeling Thatcher, I think. I think that's what she was trying to convey.
Lots of comments about it.
Yeah, certainly was.
Right, coming up, we'll be sitting down with this week's Greatest Britain, plus later on that mixologist who's going to be whipping us up some gin. But first, Hogwarts is becoming Dogwarts. Any idea what that means? This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News. Stay with us.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. GB News, Britain's election channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mark Dolan tonight. Weekends from 9 p.m.
England's new patron saint, Gary Lineker, a man holier and more virtuous than Mother Teresa and Gandhi combined, strikes again. Never one to miss the chance of some moral posturing, goal-hanging PR opportunist Lineker has spoken out about tonight's Champions League final. He tweeted the following: "This is the first time I'll be cheering for Real Madrid in a Champions League final." The German side Dortmund have signed a 3-year sponsorship deal with weapons manufacturer Rheinmetall. Now, Gary Lineker is not a stupid person. Following a stellar career on the pitch, it was a storied transition to broadcasting. And let me tell you, he's worth every penny of that £1.3 million a year of licence fee payers' cash to introduce football clips. So how did it escape the attention of this bright man that our democracies and our freedoms are protected and defended by the weapons produced like companies such as Rheinmetall? In fact, we should big up, not cancel, Rheinmetall, who have produced some of the armaments which are now helping Ukraine. Well, I'm very confused because I thought Gary Lineker was very supportive of Ukraine and their battle for survival. But now he wants to take their weapons away. I'm very, very confused. After all, they're going to need weapons with which to defend themselves. They can't fight by sending off tweets like Gary does. Now, many people love Gary Lineker. He has over 8 million followers on Twitter. This idol of the progressive left battled HMRC in court to reduce his tax bill by almost £5 million. This latest Lineker rant about war is weapons-grade nonsense. Sorry, Gary, but you're firing blanks.
The People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled. Lovely.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. It is 10:39. Loads of you getting in touch today on, of course, that debate last night, 7-way debate on the election. Lisa says, I would love to just see Nigel Farage, with Sunak and Starmer. Now that is a debate worth watching, she says.
Chris, you say Penny Mordaunt has her sights set on being the next Margaret Thatcher, which she will never be. As much as I disliked Mrs Thatcher, she was at least a proper statesman that will not be matched by any of the current politicians. I don't know, Chris, lots of people are big fans of Penny, not least after the, is it the Queen's funeral?
Yes.
The late Queen's funeral.
Or was it the King's coronation? It was the sword wielding,
yes.
Anyway. It's very strong. Do keep your views coming in this morning. gbnews.com/yoursay.
OK, here's one for you. Welcome to Dogwarts. That's the new slogan for the Warner Brothers studios at Harry Potter World as they team up with Guide Dogs charity to make their visitor attractions more accessible.
Yes, as part of the initiative, 3 guide dog puppies in training have been named after the leading characters of the Harry Potter films, Harry, Ron and Hermione.
Of course they are. All team members will be receiving tailored training on how to support visitors visitors with sight loss. And studio tours will have changes, including signage, iPads, to improve the experience for visitors with visual impairment.
Well, joining us now to explain this further is Head of Children, Young People and Family Service Improvement at Guide Dogs UK, Lisa Petrie. Really good to see you this morning, Lisa. And this is such an important collaboration, isn't it, between Warner Brothers Studios and Guide Dogs UK. Tell us a bit more about it.
Yes, morning. Yes, this is a really exciting collaboration. We have currently around 250 people in the UK every single day starting to lose their vision. So it's hoped that our partnership will improve the experience and make a difference to visitors with vision impairment. But not only that, we're really keen that this encourages change across the UK attractions industry, so venues are much more accessible for individuals of all ages with sight loss as well.
So, Lisa, how many guide dogs are trained each year? Is there enough going round? Because I seem to remember some years ago there was a shortage.
Yes, I think we're still recovering from COVID, where we had to pause our breeding programme for a period of time. And we're working hard. We're investing in our staff. We're seeking to recruit more puppy raisers to support the dogs that we do have coming through, so that they can go on to be the life-changing animals that they are.
Oh, Lisa, we're just looking at the footage now. If you're listening on the radio, you may want to tune in online or something and just see these gorgeous puppies. They are just beautiful and such important work that they do as well. Can you describe the sort of work that they'll be doing at Warner Brothers Studios? How will they be enhancing the experience?
So the puppies will be more, I guess, raising the profile and the awareness of guide dogs, and the dogs have been named through our Guide Dog Name a Puppy scheme. So it's really exciting that the studio is able to support that, and it means that they can contribute. The scheme means that they can support with costs through that dog's journey to becoming a life changer, and help with things like vet bills and food costs that are involved in that journey.
OK, Lisa. Great work. Thank you for doing all you do for those who are visually impaired and blind. It's sterling work indeed. And no doubt all the visitors at Harry Potter World will be taking right advantage of the new guide dog services you've got there. Love those puppies.
Yeah, I love those puppies and I love those names.
Are they the Andrex puppies, the labs?
They look like it.
I'm more of a cat person, I must admit, but they're baby labs, are they? Puppy labs?
Yeah, you like those, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right with those.
Very cute.
Good. Thank you very much, Lisa, for telling us all about that. Coming up, stay with us. We're going to be meeting our greatest Briton to hear about his endeavours to support those with poor mental health. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to your latest GB News weather update. It's going to be a fairly cool feeling weekend. Some sunny spells to come though, but also a further risk of showers. And actually across the south and east this morning is when the greatest risk of showers and cloudier skies through this weekend is until at least around lunchtime. Further north than that, a mix of sunny spells and showers. Actually across northwestern Scotland, the showers will be particularly heavy and blustery as well. There is a risk of thunderstorms and hail to the eastern areas of northern Scotland. But for many central areas where it does brighten up later on today, highs of around 18 degrees, certainly not too bad for the time of year, and in any sheltered sunshine it won't feel too bad. However, the further north and west you are, the more exposed to this northwesterly wind, which is a cool direction. It's also dragging in these frequent showers to parts of the Highlands, the Western Isles of Scotland in particular, but also across eastern areas of northern Scotland. There is a risk of some very heavy blustery downpours. Should stay largely dry into this evening across parts of Northern Ireland, much of northern England, with the clearest skies developing across much of England and Wales, where temperatures will still be around 17 or 18 degrees to end the day, so a fairly pleasant end to Saturday. However, as the night goes on, cloud will build from the north and we'll see some more persistent rain arriving into much of Scotland Northern Ireland later on in the night, and then Northern England by the morning. Now, ahead of that, it should stay dry and clear. Long live clear skies makes for colder temperatures. There's going to be a cooler night for many central areas of England and Wales. We could see a touch of grass frost by the morning, but that does mean it will be a bright start to Sunday. Best of the sunshine through the morning for these areas on Sunday, as cloud will continue to build from the north as this band sinks southwards throughout the afternoon. Now, across the far south coast for much of the day, it should stay largely dry with some sunshine, and winds won't be too strong, so we'll still see highs of around 18 or 19 degrees, but to the north still just 11 or 12, which is pretty cool for the time of year.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians in the media, but it's actually about you. And we won't ever forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
Now more than ever, it's important to hear
all sides as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's election channel.
GB News is Britain's election channel.
And when the big stories break, we're tackling them on Britain's newsroom. When we disagree, and we disagree a lot, it's even livelier than normal.
We don't disagree that much.
We do.
His comedy, though, is revolting. I knew her, unlike you.
That explains Beverly Turner's temperament.
It's a bit frosty in here, isn't it?
He'll have one of me one day.
For dartball practice. Britain's newsroom on GB News. Weekdays, 9:30 a.m.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. Loads of you getting in touch. I love going through the views. Sylvie says the amount of hairspray on Mordaunt's mop last night will have burnt a hole in the ozone layer. She'd have very large hair. Both ways.
So, as a bloke, how do you achieve that style? Is
lots
it
of
blow dry
backcombing and lots of hairspray and a very bouncy blow drying, yeah.
Okay.
It would have taken hours. It's a lot of work. And Joseph says Penny Mordaunt has a name that could be a teacher at Hogwarts.
Yeah, not a bad shout. Lizzie, you say, no, the Lucy Letby drama is wrong on every level. A drama about babies being murdered. What about the families of those babies? Yeah. That's the point you made. And Ruby, you said, good morning, Ruby. Well said, Starmer. He should not have to go private. Yeah.
And on the guide dogs, Jane says this guide dog story is so heartwarming. They are just incredible animals. And Heidi says such beautiful puppies. Well, do keep your views coming in on any of the stories that we're talking about today. gbnews.com/you'll say.
Yes, always good fun getting stuck into those. The good ones and the bad ones, all the abuse as well. Right, now, here on Saturday Morning Live, we love to give a spotlight to amazing people who do amazing things. And today, we've got a veteran who endeavours to help those suffering from anxiety in all its various forms and manifestations.
Yes, over 3 decades, Simon Lee has established himself as a pioneer, seeking new ways to coach personal development and mental strength.
We're delighted to be joined in the studio now by Simon Lee. Congratulations, Simon. You are this week's greatest Britain. Now, look, there's this famous phrase, isn't it, that hard times create weak men and weak men create hard times. Is that the kind of philosophy that your work is based on?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because as a child, I received a masterclass in how weak men create hard times.
Did you go through hard times as a kid?
We had 3 toxic men in the family, and they caused the family no end of grief, trauma and hardship. So, and at the time when you're going through it, you think, well, you can't help but fall into a victim mentality. You think, why me? Why am I going through this? But actually, I couldn't do what I do now without that masterclass.
Do you mind me asking who those men were?
Yep, it's fine. One of them was my stepfather.
Yeah.
One of them was my grandfather, and one of them was my uncle.
Right.
So they're all inner family members. And without exception, all of them, outside of the family doors, wanted to put themselves across as moral pillars of society. Always the way.
I'm so sorry to hear that you had that experience, Simon.
Oh, don't be,
But how do you turn that story around and be the man that you are today and turn what you went through into a positive? How do you do that?
Well, I think my first mentor was a guy, he's dead now, called Peter Hudson. And when I was a teenager, I didn't know I was suffering from trauma because no one spoke about it in those days. And I met this first mentor. He was quite a prolific mentor in those days. I think he saw a lot of the modern pop stars and rock stars. I won't name them, just in case. But I was talking to him about my experiences one day, and he was very cutting, and he said, you need to stop whinging and whining about your background because you've got so much energy you can create with that story. You can go out there and do so much good. And I was really angry when I heard that from him. I even pulled over on the way home. I was so angry. What I was really angry was I knew he was right.
Yeah.
I knew he was right, and I knew I had to create something with this. And that was the question, what can I do with this energy that I've got inside of me?
So what do you do now to help other men? So you've established that pretty much you can, choose to be a victim of your circumstance or use it as inspiration to do better and say, do you know what? When I'm older, for example, if you had a bad childhood, I want to make sure my kids get the kind of childhood I didn't have. So how do you relay that to the people you mentor now, I guess?
Yes, I think one of the things I found out for men specifically is that therapy doesn't work. It's not just about talking about your feelings. I think that was supposed to be the panacea for men, was talk about your feelings and everything will be okay.
Why doesn't it work?
Because the men want empowerment. They want action. They want to see something that's going to make them grow and feel powerful. That's just the way men are. So if you just talk about your feelings, if you're already vulnerable when you're talking about your feelings, it just makes them more vulnerable. And so many men I coach said that therapy hasn't worked for them. So what we do, I set up something called Unlimited Courage. We talk about giving men a primary aim of courage. So we bring in philosophies such as Stoicism, our own 7 Courages, Bushido, and they love it. They love it. And I must admit, when I found it, I felt like I'd found the Holy Grail.
Wow.
Because
that is so interesting. So it's like a kinetic approach to therapy.
Absolutely.
And it's much more masculine, isn't it, in terms of approaching a problem and trying to develop as a person. And this is something that you specialise in, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then they will talk about their feelings. If they're feeling empowered, they will talk about their feelings. But it won't happen the other way around, feeling really vulnerable and then asking them to open up more and show their feelings.
So we all know that men's mental health is a bit of a taboo still, unfortunately. I think it's Men's Mental Health Week next week.
Starting on Monday,
On Monday. What tips would you give people listening and watching this now, the first steps if they feel like they need to, heal themselves? What are the kind of first steps they can do to start that path?
I would certainly say to look at your life and see what you're not addressing. What are you keeping hidden? What are your habits behind closed doors you don't want anyone else to see? What lies are you telling yourself? What lies are you telling other people? Lying is such a big thing. I think men base lives around lying to themselves about who they really are.
Is that a defence mechanism?
Absolutely. Part of the armour that goes up.
We're seeing some pictures, Simon, on the screen, if you are listening on the radio, of mixed martial arts and boxing. There are lots of different exercises. Where does this come into mental resilience and courage?
Well, Jordan Peterson once made an amazing comment that he said the best men in society, the strongest men, will be the ones that are capable of wielding a sword but choose to keep it sheathed. I love that comment because that's kind of like sums up my entire journey of teaching men that it's okay to be able to handle yourself, to know you've got that capability for chaos, but you only choose not to do it if you come from that position of confidence and the position of courage.
Yeah.
If you feel insecure about yourself, it's, as we just started the conversation with, it's the weak men that will be violent. It's the weak men that will lie, manipulate.
I've heard many people say that, even professional athletes and sportsmen. Wayne Rooney infamously said that you need that capacity for aggression inside you as long as it's used properly. Well, look, Simon, thank you so much for being with us today.
Pleasure.
You are our
Thank you for having
greatest
me
person.
on.
What's the website?
It's unlimitedcourage.com.
Unlimitedcourage.com.
Yes,
Fantastic.
Please do check it out. Of course, so important to talk to you about this with Men's Mental Health Week starting on Monday. And David Rave has just been in touch saying Simon Lee is awesome. Perfectly said. Simon Lee, really good to meet you. Thanks, you
Simon.
very much.
More to come, including showbiz and lots of gin in the next hour. Stick with us.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We hold on to rather mixed weather conditions across the UK this weekend, sunshine and showers and cool winds too. The reason for the cool winds is down to low pressure being centred towards the northeast of the UK, high pressure further out towards the west, generating that northerly flow with weather fronts embedded in the flow, enhancing showers at times. Looking at the detail for this afternoon now, and we've got a fair bit of clouds still to clear from the far south of England, a legacy of some patchy rain here too, but skies will gradually brighten from the north as we go through the latter stages of the day. Lots of sunshine developing across parts of Wales, the Midlands into parts of Northern Ireland, with sunshine and scattered showers further north and northwest, and quite a blustery wind towards the northwest of Scotland, making it feel quite chilly here too. As we go into the evening and through the overnight period, lots of clear weather developing towards the south. So a legacy of clouds as they're clearing away first thing this evening, and then lots of sunshine here to end the day. Lots of sunshine too across Wales, the Midlands, into parts of Northern Ireland. 1 or 2 showers though across the far north of Northern Ireland, and 1 or 2 showers into the northwest of England. But the focus for the worst of the showers by this stage will be towards the north and west of Scotland, some of them quite heavy, even locally thundery in nature, coupled with quite a gusty northwesterly wind here too. So going through the rest of the evening and through the overnight period, those showers continue towards the northwest of the UK, coupled with blustery winds. Showers eventually merging to give some longer spells of rain across parts of Northern Ireland by the morning on Sunday. Further south and east though, it's a clearer picture. Cloud tended to melt away, so turning quite chilly here. Towns and city temperatures holding up near double figures, but in some rural spots towards the south and southeast, we could even see a touch of grass frost by Sunday morning, with temperatures here into low single figures. As for Sunday itself, well, a northwest-southeast split developing in the weather across the UK. Those showery outbreaks of rain towards the northwest started to slip the way southeastwards into northern England and parts of Wales as we head through into the afternoon. Further south and east holding on to some sunshine, although clouding over from the north, whereas towards the north of the UK there across parts of Scotland, a mixture of sunshine and showers and staying chilly too.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's our summer spectacular. 3 top prizes that have to be won. There's cash. £15,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like this summer. Plus a brand new iPhone 15 with a set of Apple AirPods. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also treat you to some fun in the sun with £500 to spend at your favourite UK attraction this summer. For another chance to win the iPhone, treats and £15,000 cash, text prize to 63232. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or post your name and number to GB06 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 28th of June. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together and what have we got, in my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Emily Carver. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
As time passes,
She could have said Storm.
You made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
something practical could be done.
Or I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Stephen Dixon, and thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. This is GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, I'm Ellie Costello with Ben Leo, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us, and great to have your company this morning. And boy, do we have an action-packed second hour for you. All of the day's top stories with author and commentator Nikki Hodgson and TV personality Ben Offerwadu.
And the woman who allegedly inspired a character in the television series Baby Reindeer is suing Netflix for £133 million. Wow. Our showbiz reporter Stephanie Tecchi will be bringing us up to speed.
And I'm looking forward to this. It's World Gin Day today. We'll be sitting down with a mixologist to understand why people celebrate and what is the best way to enjoy the tipple.
Yes, don't worry, we'll be doing all that important research for you a little bit later on this hour. We're hoping to get some rhubarb and gin.
I feel like I need one.
Yeah, so do I. I think we both do today. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. This show is nothing without you. Please keep your views coming in to us, gbnews.com/you'll say. We will try and share as many as we can throughout the programme.
Yes, and by the way, an update on Michael Mosley, the missing TV doctor in Greece. A big development this morning. They're still looking for him, but there's a new piece of information which moves the search on. And also, not sure if you're a Swiftie, Ellie, but it was Taylor Swift's first UK gig in Scotland last night, Edinburgh.
Yeah, and have you seen the reviews this morning?
Wasn't it 6-star or 5-star, but it should have been 6?
And if they could have given her 6, they would have done.
I don't get it.
They said it was like a religious experience. And I agree with that. I'm going to see her on the 22nd of June.
Yeah.
In London.
OK.
And you don't want to know how much I spent on tickets. And I've got the worst seat in the house as well, but I don't care.
No. All right, well, maybe you'll be a reformed religious...
Maybe.
I was about to say nuts, but probably a bit offensive, sorry, but a big Swiftie when you return.
Yeah, always have been, but yeah, good on her, though. It looks like a great show. So we're going to be going through all of that, but before anything else, Tamsin Roberts has your news headlines.
Thanks, Ellie, and good morning from the GB newsroom. It's 2 minutes past 11. Penny Mordaunt says the Prime Minister was right to apologise for missing a D-Day anniversary event, but warned the issue shouldn't become a political football. The Conservative leader of the House of Commons took part in a televised debate last night, which featured representatives from 7 parties. Miss Mordaunt clashed with Labour's deputy leader over issues including NHS waiting lists and the economy. Both were reprimanded for speaking over each other, whilst Angela Rayner received applause after claiming former Prime Minister Liz Truss had crashed the economy.
Keir Starmer confirmed this earlier this week. They are going to put up your taxes by £2,000.
That's a lie.
By £2,000 per working house.
Penny Mordaunt, you're using a figure that's been criticised by the UK Statistics Watchdog.
Treasury costings and Labour's
Why don't you
stand
by your record?
Record
levels of taxes on working people. 26 separate tax hikes in the last Parliament.
Well, a snap poll by More in Common suggests viewers of last night's debate were more than twice as likely to see Penny Mordaunt as a better Prime Minister than Rishi Sunak. But broader polls suggest she's also at risk of losing her seat in July's election. It comes as the Prime Minister unveils plans to boost home ownership with a pledge to axe stamp duty for some first-time buyers. Shadow Business Secretary Jonathan Reynolds told GB News that housing affordability should be a bigger priority.
What Labour has put forward in this election are things that would make a meaningful change to people's lives, whether that is building homes so people have a decent place to live, giving more security to renters, so if you can't afford to buy your own home, you've got that security at the same time, giving people a chance on things like the economy, so we use the energy transition to get good jobs of the future out of that. Real differences in tax and spend between, say, higher fees for private education to put that money into more teachers in the state.
Part of London's ultra-low emission zone could be scrapped if the Conservative Party wins next month's election. Senior Tories say they'd table a backing drivers bill, which would reverse the London Mayor's controversial ULEZ expansion and rule out any blanket 20-mile-per-hour zones. The party says the plan would protect drivers from what they call the draconian policies of local Labour politicians. Latest figures show that 95% of vehicles in the capital are compliant with clean air standards, up from 39% in 2017. Britain's high streets could be in for a boost, with Labour set to unveil a plan to breathe new life into shopping strips. It's expected to include an overhaul of the business rate system to help high street shops compete with online giants. It would also guarantee access to high street banking services by accelerating the establishment of banking hubs. And there would be a crackdown on antisocial behaviour, which Labour says would help revitalise local areas. The Conservative Party says the changes amount to what they call French-style union laws and pointed to its own record of supporting small businesses. 3 new national parks would be declared as part of a manifesto pledged by the Liberal Democrats. The party says it would spend around £50 million a year on maintaining the natural areas, with the Chilterns in Hertfordshire and Buckinghamshire listed as possible locations. There are currently 10 national parks in England, and Sir Ed Davey says the government has failed on its 2019 promise to create a new one. The mayor of the Greek island where Michael Mosley went missing says there's no chance the search will be called off until he's found. Efforts to locate the TV doctor are entering their 4th day now. He was reportedly last seen in CCTV footage in the village of Peddy last Wednesday. The mayor said the area where he's believed to have travelled through is difficult to pass and is only rocks. A search dog was only able to work for an hour this morning due to extremely high temperatures, which topped 40 degrees on the day Mr Mosley disappeared. Lord David Cameron has been targeted by a hoax video call by someone claiming to be the former president of Ukraine. The Foreign Secretary shared messages and spoke to someone who said they were Petro Poroshenko. The Foreign Office says he became suspicious soon after the conversation, before an investigation confirmed it wasn't genuine. Officials say they're making the news public in case the video recording from the call is manipulated and used to spread misinformation. Well, those are all the lead stories. Do sign up for more on those by GB News Alerts. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts. Now it's back to Ellie and Ben.
Thanks, Tamsin, and welcome to Saturday Morning Live. The time is 7 minutes past 11. Loads of you getting in touch with us this morning. Thank you so much for sending us in your messages. David has been in touch on that election debate last night, saying Nigel is 100% correct. The political system is broken.
Simon, good morning. You say Simon Lee, our greatest Briton, who we just showed. He said, so true. I have complex PTSD. Hidden Wounds, that's a therapy service from Help the Heroes charity, has been brilliant. They've, can you give them a shout out for supporting me during my surgery? Of course, yeah, Help the Heroes, great charity.
Yeah, they really are. And on the election debate last night, Jess says, wow, all of these promises coming from both the Tories and Labour. If either party gets in, they won't stick to a single one. John says Labour has an invisible manifesto or empty promises. And Wendy says the debate sounded like a cat bite to me and told me nothing.
Yeah, that exchange between Angela Rayner and Penny Mordaunt was quite hard on the ears.
It was quite hard on the ears, and lots of pointing as well. Yeah, do let us know what you make.
Move on, Ellie.
Yeah, gbnews.com/also. Now, of course, we are talking about the 7-way election debate on the BBC last night. But in case you did miss it, we're now going to give you a brief roundup of what was said.
Yes, so the Prime Ministerial stand-in Penny Mordaunt joined in the criticism of Rishi Sunak for leaving D-Day commemorations in Normandy early.
What happened was completely wrong, and the Prime Minister has rightly apologised for that, apologised to veterans, but also to all of us, because he was representing all of us.
Would you have left D-Day early?
I didn't go to D-Day. I think what happened was very wrong. I think the Prime Minister has apologised for that. But what I also think is important is we honour their legacy.
Well, meanwhile, Labour's deputy leader, Angela Rayner, accused the Conservatives of 14 years of abstract, or did she mean abject, failure?
We've heard from the Tories for 14 years that they were going to do something about skills and manufacturing in this country. I asked the people to look at their record, and they constantly spout these lies that we're going to stop people's cars, that we're going to do this, going to do that, when really the reason they say that is their 14 years abstract failure.
And are your green policies going to be
You have failed the British people.
And just to share Lynn's thoughts on this, Lynn's been in touch, thanks Lynn, saying, I do think that Angela Rayner meant the word abstract. The Labour Party don't have any physical evidence or existence whatsoever. Their policies are abstract. So there you go. That's Lynn's thoughts.
I'm not sure that's what she meant, but again, I say I'm not going to have a dig at Rayner for that because I've probably done it plenty of times on air with lots of different words. But look, amid the bickering and the talking over each other, Plaid Cymru's Rhian Ap Loreth. Come on, help me out.
Yeah, Loweth, I think.
Loweth, yeah. Apologies. Found the time to highlight the lack of excitement surrounding Labour.
I believe that the real frustration in this election is the lack of change on offer from the Labour Party. Whether you liked him or not, there was a feeling. I was still working as a journalist back in the 90s when Tony Blair came in. At least there was a feeling of something different happening.
Meanwhile, the Reform UK party leader Nigel Farage spelt out his frustrations with today's political leaders.
I think this has been one of the worst general election campaigns so far between the two main parties I've ever seen in my lifetime. It isn't just that their leaders are dull, well, very dull in the case of Labour. I mean, sort of Blair without the flair. I mean, the real leader of the Labour Party is here tonight on the stage. At least she's got some personality.
Well, joining us now is GB News senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Nigel, what was your assessment of last night's debate?
Well, I mean, the trouble with trying to do 7 people at the same time is that you really didn't get to the bottom of any of the actual policies. Now, polls immediately afterwards said that Nigel Farage had won the debate. Obviously, all eyes were on Angela Rayner and Penny Mordaunt, and the particular bit is over this Tory claim that Labour will raise taxes by £2,000. It's absolute nonsense. I think Angela could have actually made that point more strongly.
So, Nigel, in the battle of the power women in politics, Angela Rayner from Labour, Penny Mordaunt for the Conservatives, who did come out on top in that particular duel?
I'm not sure. There was someone who came out on top because, as you just said...
Come on, Nigel, off the fence.
Well, if I was going for one side or the other, I'd go for Angela Rayner. But I'm not sure that the viewers would have taken the same view. I mean, there was a lot of talking over each other, and the basic points that they were trying to make never really came across. But I think I blame the format. I don't know how else you could do it, but I think it's very difficult to do 1.5 hours for 7 people to get their oar in all together.
What did you make of Nigel Farage's performance, Nigel? Because in the Telegraph, that poll said that he won the debate last night based on the poll in their paper.
Yes, I mean, the polls immediately afterwards that were taken after the debate said that Nigel won. The area where I thought he was most tantalising about was on the NHS. Now, there was a suggestion there he would certainly reform it or even abolish it and introduce a kind of French-style insurance system to replace it. I would certainly like to have heard more about that idea, because as we all know, that in the long term, a 1948 model of the NHS really isn't sustainable. So it's going to need reform whoever is in charge. But I would like to have heard more about what Nigel's idea was for that.
Yeah, Nigel, Mr Farage's point was that in France, where they have a model that he was talking about, heart attacks, strokes, cancer treatment, much better records compared to us for a similar amount of money. And Jazzy, one of our viewers, says the NHS was set up to give poor people access to free healthcare. Back in the 1940s, you paid to see a doctor, so only those that could afford it had access to it. Nothing has changed, so multimillionaire Sir Keir Starmer, should pay for his own healthcare. When he was talking about the NHS and also immigration, I'm not sure if you saw, Nigel, but there was a shot of the crowd showing particularly one young chap who was sat there shaking his head all the time, but 2 other people flanking him. Did you see that? And what do you make of it? Because it happens quite a lot, that shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that obviously the audience found certain things more attractive than others, and certainly, I mean, the immigration we take separately, obviously, from what Nigel was talking about with the NHS. but we do have to actually consider what you do with the NHS going forward. I mean, the viewer who's just written in is absolutely right. In 1948, the NHS was created to give universal health care to all, free at the point of use. Now, it only stayed free at the point of use for 3 years. The charges began coming in. The question, obviously, going forward is if you are richer, should you pay something towards your treatment?
Yeah, that's the question. Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Nigel Nelson, good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for your time. Now, of course, GB News is the People's Channel, isn't it? So throughout the election campaign, we are going to be hearing from people across the United Kingdom about what really matters to you in this election.
Yeah, so for today, for the first time, we meet Anastasia from Leeds.
My name's Anastasia Tempest. I live in Leeds at the moment. The reason why I use a wheelchair is because I've actually got cerebral palsy, and if it wasn't for the wheelchair, I wouldn't be able to do anything. And I want them to think about people with disabilities, because rarely do they get even a thought of, let alone mentioned. And I am very, very concerned about the NHS. The waiting lists are high. I'm also on the waiting list, waiting for a particular procedure. I've been on the waiting list for over 3.5 years, and I got a phone call the other day saying I have to wait another 12 months. It really isn't on. I'm losing the will to live. Previously, I have actually voted for Labour. I was a member of the Labour Party, but this time I really don't know who to vote for. I'm inclined to vote for Labour because they seem more authentic than the Conservatives. I don't feel heard, and it's GB News that have given me a voice, but nobody else has. And I just feel forgotten. I mean, would anybody notice if I dropped dead? No, I don't think they would.
That's Anastasia Tempest speaking in Leeds to us here on GB News. We'll be sharing people's thoughts throughout the general election campaign, won't we?
Yes, right. We are welcomed by our panel again, Nikki Hodgson and TV personality Ben Offawady. Welcome back. I should have said welcome back. Not welcomed by, there we go. Right, let's get stuck into some more stories. What do you fancy? Viral story, Stormzy. Stormzy, of course, if viewers don't know, massive... What, is he? He's not a pop star, is he? He's a rapper.
Yes.
Right, I was going to say grime artist, but...
grime, yeah.
Yeah, originally grime, and then a rapper.
Moved into the mainstream a bit.
Pop star because he's a popular artist. So I think he falls under pop star.
He did a great track with Linkin Park that I was listening to a bit earlier, if anyone knows Linkin Park.
Yes.
Anyway, Stormzy, he's opened his own bar in the Immersive House Party in Soho.
Yeah. Amazing. I was there on Thursday night. Yeah, I was there. Yeah.
This is why I want to talk about it. What was it like?
Check the papers. I was there, man.
Tell us what it's like, because it's something that's never really been seen before.
It is a fantastic idea, so I have to salute Stormzy and Maya Jama. It is a house. It's like a house in the middle of the West End. All right, it's like based on an 80s house, so it's like terrible carpet and bad wallpaper. But, you know, downstairs, there's a kitchen. In fact, what people don't really know is that there's a basement, and in the basement, there's a bar, and there's Stormzy's first car. And it's cemented to the ground.
What was it?
With the lights on, a BMW.
His first car was a Beamer?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was like an old...
Wow.
I think it's like an old school BMW. Yeah. You know, it wasn't flashy, you know. But then that's kind of in the corner. And then downstairs, I suppose, serves as the nightclub part of it. Then you come upstairs and there's a kitchen area. And that's where the DJ was. So you dance around the kitchen table. There's tables and chairs, and there's like a hob in the middle where the DJ stand is like a, like a kitchen ceramic sort of table. So it's there, and then you go upstairs, and then there is a games room, and then there's a bedroom, then there's another floor with, I think there's a... Oh, yeah, no. The first floor, games room and a toilet. And then the next there is the games room and a bedroom. And they've got different characters. So there's a guy that's walking around in pyjamas constantly. And there's an old lady who sits in the toilet smoking cigarettes and well, she wasn't actually smoking and stuff like that.
Love it.
Yeah, so it was great. And there's a roof terrace. It's a brilliant idea. Nightclubs are dying out, and I think it's a great way to get people back into nightclubs, because now it's all about the glorified bar, or what I call them glorified pubs. But bars are taking over. The bar licences have gone later, so people don't go to nightclubs anymore. So I think to open a nightclub now, it has to be special, and he's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, sounds brilliant. Nikki, I've always preferred house parties to say big nights out, but this kind of, I guess, sounds like it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
It's quite intriguing, isn't it? Because, I mean, my husband was a bar owner for 15 years. We had 5 bars, different kind of bars. Some of them were Latin-themed, and then one of them was a kind of more shishi 60s cocktail bar. But the house party concept is interesting, because I still get invited to house parties. I'm a mum, so I don't get to go out very much anymore. But I guess it's if you're a celebrity, you can't really go to a house party anymore, can you? So I guess why you'd be nostalgic about those days of just going to your mates and never know, or going to somebody's mates of a mate's house and never knowing who'd be there when you got there.
Yeah.
So there is something really appealing about it.
Well, it looks brilliant. Should we stay with the musical theme and talk about Taylor Swift?
Your favourite.
My favourite lady. She's wowed the crowd. Stay with us, Ben, in Edinburgh for her first Eras show in the UK. I mean, she is absolutely incredible. She's been doing this tour for months on end. It's a 4-hour show. It's a marathon.
That's a whopper.
Yeah.
4 hours.
It's called the Eras because it takes you through all of her albums. Yeah, and it's just her 17-year career. Amazing.
17 years, wow, she's been around a long time. Lucky, because you forget how long she's been around. I really got to know about her when Kanye West sort of raided the stage and sort of... But he did, you know, it did put her into the spotlight. I know she was winning an award that time, but it made her even bigger than what she is. I am not a Swiftie at all.
Get out.
I don't...
I'll come with you, Ben. Let's leave Ellie and Nikki.
I honestly, I don't really get it. What I do think that she's an incredible businesswoman. She's re-recorded all her stuff so that her old record company don't make noise, and signed a new deal with Lucy Grange at Universal, and so you know, so the money.
She owns her own music. Right?
Yeah, and that's incredible. And she's always been a kind of business sort of person. Even when she got with Calvin Harris, he sort of changed into like a supermodel.
I forgot they were together.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Calvin Harris is like I mean, he's a great musician, but he started looking like a supermodel, cut his hair, got the abs in and stuff like that. And I think that she influenced that as well. So, but she's an amazing songwriter. I do understand. Usually with people that are amazing, I usually get it.
Yeah.
Ben,
but I'm struggling. I can't help it.
You need to take your time now. There's a gateway song for everyone. There's 17 years. There's back
gateway song.
17 years. You find a gateway song and you're there. It's different for everybody.
I agree with you, Ben. I can, even music that I don't like, you know, to my taste, I could still normally appreciate, you know, the talent and whatnot, but I can't get into it.
Yes.
Honestly,
but she's a billionaire, isn't she?
She must be by now. I mean,
she doesn't need to worry about whether you're listening to her probably at this point.
Yeah, and she's made over £1 billion from this tour.
Yeah.
And she is affecting the local economy of every city that she brings her tour to, because she does a number of days.
Yep.
And the amount of money that is pumped into the hotels, the restaurants,
She's very
the bars
charitable,
locally.
apparently, as well.
And she's so generous with their team.
Yeah.
I think she was giving the men who were on the tour with her, driving the lorries and whatnot, the tech team as well, like something like £10,000 each, just as bonuses. So
well, apparently as well, at the show in Edinburgh beforehand, she put in a massive Greggs order. So Greggs has had a super boost.
I mean, don't you two just want to get on board just because she's a nice person?
Well, if she's going to be giving £10,000 bonuses, I'm there. You know what I mean? I love her. I love her.
You've changed your tune.
Maybe more artists should be doing things like that.
Jason's just written in on your say, says, I think Ben is a secret Swiftie, even though Linkin Park's New Divide is a masterpiece.
You listen to, like, teenage boy music, though, don't you?
Because I still feel like a teenage...
It's like all the screamo stuff.
I still feel like a teenage boy at heart.
There you go.
Nostalgia as well.
Yeah. Not mock me for Swiftie stuff, and then you're listening to...
Leave off.
Honestly.
I'd rather listen to Blink-182 or Linkin Park than Taylor Swift.
Me. No.
Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay, expecting lots of support for the punk rock era.
Yeah, get in touch if you're a Swiftie, even a secret one. We'd love to hear from you. gbnews.com/yoursay. Thank you, Nikki and Ben. It's been lots of fun this morning.
Welcome.
Thank you very much indeed. Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be discussing how to break the taboos surrounding men's mental health issues. Of course, it's Men's Mental Health Week, starting on Monday.
Plus, we'll sit down with showbiz journalist Steph Tecci to find out all the latest in the world of showbiz. Stick with us.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
GB News brings you accurate reporting of the day's topical agenda.
When the news breaks, wherever and whenever it's happening,
we'll be there.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Princess of Wales has said she's excited by a new report on prioritising early childhood, a cause, as we know, that she's closely associated with.
Yes, the task force findings claim that the UK could reap £45.5 billion in economic benefits if firms prioritise early childhood.
Well, let's talk about this now with our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. Good morning, Cameron.
Good morning.
I suppose it's characteristically Catherine, isn't it, to say she doesn't want to distract from this report by sort of people talking about her health. But we should start probably by saying she said she's not feeling well enough to come and talk about this in public, but sort of saying she's watching it, keeping a close eye from behind closed doors.
Yeah, absolutely. This should not be seen as a return to work by the Princess of Wales, but I have been told she's A, read the report and B, been briefed on it. But this all stems really from her work when she started being a working member of the royal family, where she was working closely with people suffering from addiction, mental health problems. And what she found is all of these issues tend to stem from a poor start in life, so the first 5 years of a child's life. So in January 2023, she set up Shaping Us, this awareness campaign for the early years. 2 months later, she convened the business task force, so 8 members of big businesses across the UK, and over a generation, that could add, as they claim, more than £40 billion to the UK economy each year. We spoke to Peter Grigg yesterday. He's the chair of Home Starts UK, a charity which supports young families. Let's hear what he said about the Princess's role in this.
She's been a real driving force behind the report and everything it's done. And when we've spent time with the Royal Foundation, what it does, it reminds everyone that this is really important work and early childhood matters, that more businesses should get involved, that more charities are out there for people who want to do more to support families and children. So it's been a wonderful experience.
The People's Channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
It's true. You're not wrong. No one will be cancelled.
Lovely. Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. The time is 27 minutes past 11. Now, starting on Monday, it is Men's Mental Health Week. So we are highlighting issues that affect men specifically. And health amongst men can often be a taboo subject. One of the biggest issues impacting men's health is erectile dysfunction.
Yes, so according to a new report, around half of men over 40 and a quarter under 40 suffer from erectile dysfunction. So to discuss this now, we're joined further by psychosexual therapist Dr. Catherine Hood.
Hello.
Good morning to you.
Morning.
Thank you for joining us. That's a massive number, 40% of men over 40, and quite surprisingly, the under 40 cohorts as well. I mean, it's, I assume, for a myriad of reasons, but what is the main reason, first off, for men experiencing erectile dysfunction?
So there can be multiple causes, but, you know, you can sort of divide them into psychological reasons and also physical reasons, although quite often they coexist. So some people, particularly in older men, you're likely to have a little bit of wear and tear on the body, so, you know, the nerves and the blood vessels don't work quite as well as they did when they were 18. But then they develop quite a lot of psychological stuff on top of that, due to pressure, a feeling that they want to perform. And also it's so linked to how we feel about ourselves. And this came out in the Eroxon report, you know, masculinity, how men view themselves and their self-esteem. So, you know, in the Eroxon report, 44% of men felt their self-esteem was knocked by having erectile
There's a theory going round that modern man is emasculated, generally. We've all become feminised a little bit, you know, sort of metropolitan, what do they call it? what's the word? A metropolitan man, something. Metrosexual man. That's the word. Thank you, Sophia and Maya. Is there any truth to that? Are men slowly being emasculated? Because, of course, the birth rate globally is falling. I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
I don't know that. That's not something we particularly see. I think men feel embarrassed about talking about this. And if you look at the Eroxon report, again, you know, 2/3 of men felt ashamed and felt that, you know, embarrassed about bringing this up as a topic. And 70% find it difficult to talk to their healthcare professional, their doctor.
We're talking about Men's Mental Health Week starting on Monday, and I'm sure you agree that progress is being made about men talking about their mental health. I think men feel like they can talk more than they could have done perhaps 20, 30 years ago. But when they talk about their sexual health rather than their mental health, that hasn't improved at all, has it really? And that's interesting because there's such a link, isn't there, between erectile dysfunction, what we're talking about today, and your mental health. It impacts on that.
And we know that there is a strong link between anxiety, and so people who suffer from anxiety, particularly in young men, and having erectile problems. But I do think as a society, we're very bad at talking about how our bodies work sexually. And that, as a result, when things go wrong, we think we're the only person who's suffering from it. We think we're broken somehow, and it causes an awful lot of distress. In the study, 50% of men were reduced to tears by the impact of actually having erectile problems. So it is huge.
There was a stat that I saw saying that 90% of couples who experience erectile dysfunction with the man, what was the stat? They were...
Yeah, they have some distress. It's put a strain on their relationship.
Okay.
And I do think it's really important to bear in mind, partners, when you're dealing with somebody who has ED, because it can have a lot of impact on them. Often they feel rejected, they feel, you know, that their partner's not finding them attractive anymore, which is often completely the opposite. Often the guy is feeling, I'm really attracted, and actually that adds the pressure. This isn't working.
What about that 10%? So 10% say that erectile dysfunction doesn't have an effect on their relationship. I mean, what's going on there?
Well, you know
I would have thought, you know, maybe ignorantly that it should have been 100%.
Well, maybe people are not being totally honest in the thing, but I think, actually, to be honest, what is good sex life? I think it really varies with people. Some people it's more important than others. And it may be that they've got a relationship that's not based on the penis working, and it may be based on other forms of intimacy, and that's what actually is most important with relationships, is intimacy.
So for anyone watching and listening this morning, what advice would you give?
So I think the first thing is you need to start talking about it if you feel you can, because the other thing about erectile problems, it can be an early sign of other health issues. So it's important to talk to your GP, particularly if you're getting older.
Could be linked to a prostate, for example.
Or things like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So it's an early indicator of those nerves and blood vessels not working quite so well. So it's important to talk to somebody, but also, you know, talk to your partner. There are things you can do. There's now an over-the-counter gel called Eroxon that you can get, and you can go and buy that in the chemist. And that is nice because it builds intimacy. And as I say, that's often what people miss. And you can do that with your partner, and you can get it works quickly, usually within 10 minutes. But then there are other treatments, and it's trying to understand, you know, if you come and see a therapist like me, we'll also talk about some of the psychological impact and try and help people reduce the anxiety and the stress, because that's often making things worse.
OK, Dr. Catherine Hood, thank you very much. It is, of course, Men's Mental Health Week next week, so, yeah, I'd encourage all blokes to, you know, shake off the taboo, I guess, and get talking about what's going on in your life. First, before we move on, let's get news headlines with Tamsin Roberts.
Ben, thank you. Here are the headlines at 11:32. Penny Mordaunt says the Prime Minister was right to apologise for missing a D-Day anniversary event, but warned the issue shouldn't become a political football. The Conservative leader of the House of Commons took part in a televised debate last night which featured representatives from 7 parties. Miss Mordaunt clashed with Labour's deputy leader over issues including NHS waiting lists and the economy. Both were reprimanded for speaking over each other, whilst Angela Rayner received applause after claiming former Prime Minister Liz Truss had crashed the economy.
Keir Starmer confirmed this earlier this week. They are going to put up your taxes by £2,000.
That's a lie.
By £2,000 per working house.
Penny Mordaunt, you're using a figure that's been criticised by the UK statistics watchdog.
Costings and Labour's
Why don't you stand by your record?
Record
levels of taxes on working people. 26 separate tax hikes in the last Parliament.
A snap poll by More in Common suggests viewers of last night's debate were more than twice as likely to see Penny Mordaunt as a better Prime Minister than Rishi Sunak. But broader polls suggest she's also at risk of losing her seat in July's election. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister is unveiling plans to boost home ownership with a pledge to axe stamp duty for first-time buyers on homes up to a value of £425,000. The Conservative Party is due to unveil its full range of campaign promises with the launch of a manifesto next week. And search efforts to locate TV doctor Michael Mosley have entered a fourth day. The mayor of the Greek island where he went missing says the area he's believed to have travelled through is difficult to pass and is only rocks. He was reportedly last seen in CCTV footage in the village of Pedi last Wednesday. Well, those are the headlines. And for all the latest stories, sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Almost half of those seeking to have an affair are happier with their job than with their primary relationship. But what exactly does a cheater do for a living?
Well, medical assistants and nurses, surprisingly, top the lists of professions for female cheaters, and it's jobs in IT or tech for male cheaters, which I think is less of a surprise.
No.
This is all according to a survey by the dating site Ashley Madison.
OK, so why do people cheat? To answer this, we're joined now by broadcaster and psychotherapist Lucy Beresford. Good morning, Lucy.
Morning, Lucy.
So, is it OK of me to say naughty nurses in this day and age? Am I going to get cancelled for that?
You're out.
Yeah, I'm out.
Been
Go on.
cancelled.
See ya.
There's the door.
But yes, you're talking about the caring professions, and I think it's very appropriate.
I'm surprised by that.
But women, well, because they're very nurturing, very loving, very giving, whereas the males who are in tech and IT, very strategic.
Is there a link between high-pressure jobs, maybe nurses infamously, you know, they're working long hours, underpaid, stressed out? Is there a link between jobs of that nature and cheating, maybe as a relief?
Absolutely. Is it just about sex? Or is it about emotional connection? Is it about emotional validation? And increasingly, people are discovering that their primary relationship is just not a place where they feel safe.
This survey found that personality didn't actually come into it that much. It was about half and half if you're an introvert or an extrovert that you'd be likely to have an affair.
I think that's right. And I think that just speaks to the fact that all people want to have a good emotional connection. So it doesn't matter whether you're really social or whether you're someone who has to recharge your batteries in private time, that actually we only ever want three things in life. We want to feel safe, we want to feel loved, but we also want to feel heard. And in increasingly a number of marriages and long-term relationships, we get into grooves, we get into ruts, and we stop hearing our partner, we stop listening to them, and they stop listening to us.
The People's Channel.
This is GB News, and we are Britain's election channel.
This vote may seem to be about the politicians in the media, but actually, it's about you.
And we won't forget that.
Join us up and down the country as we follow every moment together.
More than ever, it's important to hear
all sides
as you make your decision ahead of polling day.
We're here for you.
This is GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's election channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the argument. We get rid of the disrespect. And then you throw me into the mix. And trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, 11:38. Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday Morning Live, only on GB News. Some quick emails, shall we? One that might get you a bit riled, Ellie. Lorraine, you say, Taylor Swift, in Edinburgh, all homeless people are put into hotels for 7 days at a time. Of course, she played in Edinburgh last night, Taylor Swift. Because of the need for hotel rooms for the Taylor Swift concerts, the homeless people have been moved to either Aberdeen or here, where I am, in Newcastle upon Tyne. Not good.
No, it's not good, but I would say you take that up with Edinburgh City Council. not Taylor Swift. I don't think she had anything to do with moving homeless people out of hotel rooms. In fact, she gives a lot to the local cities that she plays in.
She is very charitable.
Yes. And Julie is a fan of yours, I think, because you both love Linkin Park. She's Linkin Park any day of the week.
Good on you, Julie. And John, you say, Ben, have you ever thought of doing some GB News party on the beaches around the country in the summer with some of your Saturday 5 guests? I haven't thought of it. Sounds like a nightmare, so... No, only joking. Saturday 5's on tonight, by the way. Tune in 6 till 8. I'm not there, but it's going to be a cracking show.
Cheeky plug, yeah. We love that. We're joined by showbiz journalist Stephanie Tecci, who is here with us now. Good to see you this morning.
Good morning, Ellie and Ben.
But unfortunately, we are starting with such a sad story, isn't it? Michael Mosley still missing on the island of Simi in Greece.
It's heartbreaking, Ellie, because it's now the 4th day of the search operation. The mayor of Simi said that no stone is going to be left unturned in this search. So we've had divers who are looking in the sea, and we're having rescuers searching a mountainous area of 6.4 kilometres, and they're saying the area is infested with snakes. And, you know, there's just so much going on. But more than anything, I'm thinking of his children, his 4 children who have flown out there now to help with the search, his wife. It's just, in this day and age, you always think to yourself, how can someone just vanish into thin air? And with this, there's so many aspects to this story. The weather on the day, almost reaching 40 degrees. We have those chilling CCTV images of him with the umbrella. So it's a lot to dissect. But the main thing is we're hoping that he's found safe and sound.
Yeah, the search moving on to a slightly new area today, as you mentioned. There's now this theory that he took a hike on a more treacherous path than the normal sort of touristy one. Tell us about Dave Myers, the hairy biker.
Well, today is Dave Day, and rightly so, because he's such a beloved fixture on TV. He died earlier of cancer this year. This morning, from 8 a.m, thousands of bikers are riding from London to Borough-in-Furness, where Dave came off from, in his memory. They're doing this to raise money for charities, the NSPCC, Childline and the Institute of Cancer Research. His partner, his TV partner, Cy King, said this is all in memory of Dave. He was a positive person. And I think it's great to do that, actually, because he affected so many lives just watching the show, and people always remember them together on their bikes. So I think Dave, I'm calling for Dave Day to be an annual theme, because it's such a good cause.
Did they do a bike trip across Africa? Or am I making that up?
I don't remember seeing that, but I think that sounds cool to me.
Anyway, they were such a great pair together, full of life, full of character, so he's going to be...
And I just love that all the bikers have come together to do this in his memory, and I think it's just a fitting tribute for him.
What a lovely thing to do. Good luck to them on that bike ride. We should talk about baby reindeer, because it's still going on, isn't it? This is a story that is not going away.
It's not, and I think what's happened here, Ellie, I think art's imitated life too much, because now Martha Scott, who was the character, the woman who's actually in real life Fiona Harvey, she's suing Netflix for £133 million. She's saying that basically they fabricated a lot of the plot line, which they've sold as a true story. Like, she's saying, look, I didn't send him 41,000 emails, hundreds of voice notes, or 106 letters. So now she's suing Netflix for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress. So it's a big thing for her, because obviously she's come out and said, yep, this character is based on me, but there's so many elements of this show, which is the most watched show in the UK right now, which is untrue. Netflix have come out, they said they're going to be standing by Richard Gadd's story of him being stalked by her, and they said he has every right to tell his story. But
the claim from her is that they made it too easy for her to be identified, and of course internet sleuths ID'd her pretty sharply.
They did. Come on, in this day and age you cannot get away with those kind of things. And again, with Netflix, she's saying they done nothing in terms of trying to investigate what the truth is. As we know, there's always two sides to a story, and it seems like they only got Richard's side.
Well, apparently
not her side.
in the series she was jailed for her behaviour. But, of course, she went on Piers Morgan's show, she's done lots of media since, and no journalist has yet been able to find any court records or anything. Not to say it didn't happen, but just, you know, interesting.
So I think she's got a really good case here. So I'm thinking what will happen if she is found, you know, the court goes in her favour. What's going to happen to the show? Will it have to be taken off?
Mega fee as well. What's the fee?
£133 million.
Oh, she'll be all right.
She'll be living in the Bahamas soon.
She can afford some Taylor Swift tickets.
She probably could afford some Taylor Swift tickets. We're talking about the Edinburgh show last night, Stephanie.
Swiftie Mania is in Edinburgh. You might as well call it Taylor Town, because everywhere in Edinburgh is really reflecting that. Taylor Swift's in town, you know, you're going to pubs, they've got cocktails named after her, everything. She's managed for her first night 73,000 people, which is the most ever that's been brought to Edinburgh for a concert. So she's already breaking records. She performed 46 of her songs yesterday over a 3-hour show, 12 outfit changes, and the reviews have been amazing. You know, if people could give her 6 stars, I think they would have given her 6 stars. And I think it's because Taylor is the ultimate performer and she can bring people together. Her music is great. So I think the hype and the mania is well-deserved for Taylor.
Am I right in saying she's doing Edinburgh 4 times?
No, she's got another 2 more dates in Edinburgh. So she done yesterday, doing tonight, and I think she's doing Monday.
Right.
And she's going to move to Liverpool, London, Cardiff. So she's got 13 dates all together in the UK. So if you think I'm not going to be talking about Taylor again, you guys are wrong.
Conquering
We'll be back next week.
We'll be back again. Viewers are probably like, oh no.
I can't wait
but
to
it's
see her.
well deserved, I think.
I
for
saw
her.
a friend last week and
Yeah.
she wasn't even a big Swiftie, a bit like you, Ben.
Yeah.
Didn't really get it. And then she somehow landed upon these tickets. Don't ask me how she managed that.
Lucky,
It's impossible to get
lucky.
them. And she says she's a massive Swiftie now. She got it. She was mesmerised. It's the best show she's ever been to. 3.5 hours. And she said she's just incredible.
That's how she converted me. I was at the British Summertime probably about 5 to 6 years ago, and I wasn't a Taylor fan. And as soon as I saw her perform, I was like, yep, you've got me, Taylor.
There you go, Ben. We'll just need to get your tickets.
Yeah, I'm just reading here.
He's
it
not
says
convinced.
He's going to bring the negativity now.
Yeah, he is. What are you reading? Come on.
just a review from somewhere. It says she smashed a triumphant set in front of an enormous crowd in Edinburgh.
That sounds good.
It's a $1 billion tour.
Yeah, and people have come from all over the world, Canada, the States, all just to see her in Scotland. So goes to show there's no place too far.
Good. I don't resent people's success, so well done, Taylor. Good on you.
Oh, there you go, Ben. Very good. Very
That's
good.
sweet.
Stephanie, good to see you.
Thank you
as
for having me on,
always.
guys.
Thank you very much. Now, still to come is our favourite part of the show. We're very much looking forward to this.
Yes.
We'll be joined in the studio by a gin ambassador to teach us all things about our favourite drink, which is, of course, gin. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We hold on to rather mixed weather conditions across the UK this weekend, sunshine and showers and cool winds too. The reason for the cool winds is down to low pressure being centred towards the northeast of the UK, high pressure further out towards the west, generating that northerly flow with weather fronts embedded in the flow, enhancing showers at times. Looking at the detail for this afternoon now, and we've got a fair bit of clouds still to clear from the far south of England, a legacy of some patchy rain here too, but skies will gradually brighten from the north as we go through the latter stages of the day. Lots of sunshine developing across parts of Wales, the Midlands into parts of Northern Ireland, with sunshine and scattered showers further north and northwest, and quite a blustery wind towards the northwest of Scotland, making it feel quite chilly here too. As we go into the evening and through the overnight period, lots of clear weather developing towards the south, so a legacy of clouds as they're clearing away first thing this evening, and then lots of sunshine here to end the day. Lots of sunshine too across Wales, the Midlands, into parts of Northern Ireland. 1 or 2 showers though across the far north of Northern Ireland, and 1 or 2 showers into the northwest of England. But the focus for the worst of the showers by this stage will be towards the north and west of Scotland, some of them quite heavy, even locally thundery in nature, coupled with quite a gusty northwesterly wind here too. So going through the rest of the evening and through the overnight period, those showers continue towards the northwest of the UK, coupled with blustery winds. Showers eventually merging to give some longer spells of rain across parts of Northern Ireland by the morning on Sunday. Further south and east though, it's a clearer picture. Cloud tended to melt away, so turning quite chilly here. Towns and city temperatures holding up near double figures, but in some rural spots towards the south and southeast, we could even see a touch of grass frost by Sunday morning, with temperatures here into low single figures. As for Sunday itself, well, a northwest-southeast split developing in the weather across the UK. Those showery outbreaks of rain towards the northwest started to slip the way southeastwards into northern England and parts of Wales as we head through into the afternoon. Further south and east holding on to some sunshine, although clouding over from the north, whereas towards the north of the UK there across parts of Scotland, a mixture of sunshine and showers and staying chilly too.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threats on.
As time passes,
She could have saved Storm.
you made my argument for me.
My guest and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
Went everywhere.
Something practical could be done.
I can become something different. Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. If you didn't know, today is World Gin Day, so this is my favourite part of the show because I had a night out last night where I didn't manage to drink because I was doing this show this morning. So joining us now to celebrate World Gin Day and discuss the Cotswolds brand distillery, Cotswold Distillery, makers of gin and other liqueurs, is brand ambassador and mixologist Fabio Malacani. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us.
With plenty of mixers, plenty of lovely gin.
Yes.
What have you got here for us? Just explain what you've brought in.
So today I'm going to be presenting the Cotswolds Dry Gin and the Cotswolds Wildflower Gin.
Ooh.
So the first one that was introduced into our market was the Cotswolds Dry Gin. Now we have 9 different types of botanicals. We introduce into our pot still. We introduce well, obviously juniper berries because it's a London Dry. Angelica roots and coriander seeds, giving it that little limey flavour. And then the next morning we add the other botanicals, the lavender coming, they go straight in from the Cotswolds. And you have also cardamom seeds, then black peppercorn, giving it a little spice.
Ooh.
And then the part that is more interesting that regards to the pouring, we have the grapefruit peel and the lime peel, which are hand-peeled the whole time, and we leave it inside, giving it all the oils. It is absolutely
It's a craft,
beautiful.
isn't it? There's a lot behind...
So much, yes.
Behind just the straight. It's all the flavours that go into it, all the botanicals.
It is,
So can we get trying?
Yeah, come on. Yes, please, please, please.
So what have we got here? Talk us through whilst you make these.
So,
what are we going to start with?
We're going to start with the Cotswolds Dry. Okay, so the first one introduced.
So Ellie was taking the mick out of me this morning because I said my favourite gin was, what is it, pink lemonade?
You like a pink gin and lemonade, yes.
You called me, I'm going to say what you said. You said that's a bit girly.
It's a bit girly. But then you said it's your wife's favourite drink.
Yeah.
So she's influenced you.
She likes it, but also to hit back at you, Ellie, I also like a single malt on the rocks, bit more masculine.
Yeah, you followed up very quickly with that. I also like a single malt on the rocks.
That's a very good choice, actually.
Yeah, very, very good. So
Now, as you see,
in.
it turned into cloudy. Those are the oils of the spices because we don't filter it. Our gin is completely unfiltered.
Got it.
Okay?
Lots of ice, Fabio. Is that what we should be doing with our gin?
I would always recommend to put a little bit of ice in it. It allows you to mellow the burn that comes directly from the spirit.
There is a burn that comes from the spirit.
There is, yes.
Yes,
there definitely is.
So lots of ice.
Then we're going to garnish that with our grapefruit as being part of our botanicals.
So which one is this, sorry, Fabio?
This is the Cotswolds Dry Gin.
What would you prefer?
I'd like the wildflower.
I'd like
I think
the
you're
wildflower.
going to like the wildflower as well. So I'll take one for the team. I'll have the London Dry.
OK, maybe we can swap.
You'll have the girly one.
All right.
And then
Here
we're
we
going
are.
in with a bit of tonic. And this is the normal tonic, not the light one, yeah?
That is correct.
OK, I usually go light, but we'll make amends. It's fine.
And here's the first
Thank
one.
you very much,
You guys
Fabio.
enjoy.
Thank you. Can I try this?
Please.
I love this. It's
Cheers.
11:52. It's never
Well
too
done,
early.
mate.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And would you have any... This sounds very juvenile. Would you have any snacks with gin? Or does it ruin it?
Olives.
Ah, you can tell your culture.
It depends on how you're drinking it and where you are, like what you're actually going to do with it. Yeah. But you can have pretty much all sorts. As long as it stays on the salty side, that's what I would go for
Oh,
personally.
a salty snack.
Yeah, that's what I would go for.
So olives, would you say, is that a good choice? Or crisps, nuts,
They're
things
quite
like that?
salty olives, aren't they?
It depends on your taste, really. Like, personally, I wouldn't go for it, but I have seen...
And the popularity of gin has exploded, hasn't it? I've seen gin bars down where I live on the south coast just exploding. You've got just a myriad of different flavours.
Exactly.
What do you think that's about? Where do you think this popularity has suddenly come from with gin? Do you think it's the amount of flavours now that are available and how fun you can make gin?
Well, gin.
Cheers.
You guys enjoy.
Thank you.
Well, gin is like the culture behind gin is drastically increased over the years. The flavors are all different.
That's really good.
Exactly. You see what I mean?
Oh, very nice.
Like the wildflower is where our Cotswolds Dry Gin meets the Italian aperitivo. So you're going to have that zesty, floral kind of flavour coming through. They're absolutely stunning, aren't they?
Actually, this one's really nice, really refreshing.
I think the garnish makes a big difference. Would you agree with that? I think the grapefruit, I've always been an advocate.
It recalls the actual peel, so infused, the fruit part of the garnish will actually enhance the flavour of the gin.
Is that a bay leaf?
That is a bay leaf, yes.
You used to have a
so you
bay
can have a
leaf
little bit of
garden.
peppery flavour that reconnects to the peppercorns that we put inside the
Do you know
distillation
what, Ellie?
process.
You can have that.
Oh, thank you. Oh, because you actually won over.
I prefer this one.
Oh, there you go.
Fabio, thank you so much.
It was an absolute pleasure.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
questions.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us
top
with
drinks.
the cocktails.
Yeah,
I'm going to enjoy this in peace after.
It's been a long week. We're looking forward to these. Thank you, Fabio.
Thank you,
And a quick question from Leo, who says, Ellie versus Ben, who drinks who under the table? Well, we'll find out, won't we?
We'll get going in the privacy of the studio. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're back next week. For now, here's Dawn Neeson.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We hold on to rather mixed weather conditions across the UK this weekend, sunshine and showers, and cool winds too. The reason for the cool winds is down to low pressure being centred towards the northeast of the UK, high pressure further out towards the west, generating that northerly flow, with weather fronts embedded in the flow, enhancing showers at times. Looking at the detail for this afternoon now, and we've got a fair bit of clouds still to clear from the far south of England, a legacy of some patchy rain here too, but skies will gradually brighten from the north as we go through the latter stages of the day. Lots of sunshine developing across parts of Wales, the Midlands into parts of Northern Ireland, with sunshine and scattered showers further north and northwest, and quite a blustery wind towards the northwest of Scotland, making it feel quite chilly here too. As we go into the evening and through the overnight period, lots of clear weather developing towards the south, so a legacy of clouds as they're clearing away first thing this evening, and then lots of sunshine here to end the day. Lots of sunshine too across Wales, the Midlands, into parts of Northern Ireland. One or two showers though across the far north of Northern Ireland, and one or two showers into the northwest of England. But the focus for the worst of the showers by this stage will be towards the north and west of Scotland, some of them quite heavy, even locally thundery in nature, coupled with quite a gusty northwesterly wind here too. So going through the rest of the evening and through the overnight period, those showers continue towards the northwest of the UK, coupled with blustery winds. Showers eventually merging to give some longer spells of rain across parts of Northern Ireland by the morning on Sunday. Further south and east though, it's a clearer picture. Cloud tended to melt away, so turning quite chilly here. Towns and city temperatures holding up near double figures, but in some rural spots towards the south and southeast, we could even see a touch of grass frost by Sunday morning, with temperatures here into low single figures.